Welcome to this edition of Compassionate Conversations. My name is Lynn Flanagan and I'm the CEO at Ancora Compassionate Care. Compassionate Conversations is one more way that our organization strives to connect with, care for, and support the community that we serve. It is our privilege to serve our community, and that support may come in the form of our serious illness care program, it may come from our hospice care program, or our more recently added behavioral health care program. Our mission is to be a supportive presence for life's journey. Today, we're going to focus on our hospice care program and more specifically, our volunteer program that serves that hospice care program. I am so excited to have these two ladies with me today. I have Kim Bunker joining me. She is our volunteer and events coordinator, and June Strader, who is one of our awesome volunteers. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having us.
So before we jump in, we've got lots to talk about. What would you like our listeners to know about you, Kim?
Well, I've been with Ancora Compassionate Care for 2 years now, next month. And I started out as medical records. I worked that for about 11 months and then became the volunteer event coordinator. And I've been doing that for about a year now, and I really love it.
All right. June, what would you like our folks to know about you?
Well, I grew up on a farm, lifelong resident of Rockingham County, had the experience with end-of-life care for my dad and for my brother several years ago. So while I was working, I thought, well, you know, maybe when I retire, that'll be a good place to give back to the community. So I've been retired 9 years. And I've been with hospice, or with Ancora now, in the hospice care piece for 8 of those years.
That is
awesome.
And
I do the hospice care. I go in the patients' homes, and I find that very rewarding and just a way I can give back to the community. So I thoroughly enjoy it.
That is awesome. And we're going to talk about your story as to what brought you here a little bit later. And you just mentioned that you're a volunteer in patients' homes, which is fantastic. There's lots that we're going to unpack about that all by itself. But let's just start with, what are the different types of volunteer opportunities that we have here?
Okay, we have greeting at the front desk at Gibson House after hours and on the weekends. We have the couriers, which what they do is they pick up the meals at UNC Rockingham and bring them over here to the Gibson House for the patients. We have the tuck-in calls, which we do once a week, and that's where the volunteers call the caregivers to see if the patients have everything they need before the weekend is up. We have the sitters, which June had talked about. That is one of my favorite opportunities here. I wish I could do it. But they go out and they support and do companionship for the patients and for the caregivers.
Okay. So there's lots of different ways to give back. And June, when you talked about giving back, I have been reading so much lately about how giving back, giving of your time, that's our greatest resource, right? Because we're not going to give that back. Certainly we're doing it to benefit whatever organization, wherever we're giving our time and volunteering. But there's so much research now that proves that by giving back, how much that improves your own well-being.
Right.
And when I think about gratitude and giving back, that's what comes to mind. So there's benefits on both sides of that. We do have, as Kim was just saying, administrative volunteer opportunities. So just so our listeners, in case this is the first time anybody is joining us, Gibson House is our inpatient hospice unit. And then we have volunteer opportunities, of course, in patients' homes out in the community. But why are we even concerned about volunteer hours?
Well, it's good for the community. It's very good for the community to see that.
It absolutely is. I'm thinking, and I wasn't even clear in my question, but I'm thinking from a Medicare regulation standpoint. So everything we do within our hospice program is regulated by Medicare. We have hundreds of what they call the conditions of participation. And a lot of people probably don't realize that Medicare actually requires that 5%
Yes.
of patient care be provided
That's right.
by a volunteer. So that's one of the main reasons that, we track things like that, and that we are always looking to recruit talented volunteers. Everything doesn't count towards that 5%, right? So the 5% is specifically patient care.
Yes, patient care.
So we're going to get to June's story in just a little bit. But what if somebody was not comfortable being maybe in the patient's home or at the bedside here in Gibson House? Are there other ways that people could volunteer that do contribute to that 5% that would still be considered patient care?
Yes, the tuck-in calls do, where you call the caregivers to check on the patients. The courier does, because that's bringing the meals to the patients. So we do have several things that contribute to the 5%.
Yeah, so that would be awesome. So if somebody is not comfortable being right at the bedside, let's say, there's still ways to
Yes.
contribute to help us meet that regulation by Medicare. So before we go even further with that, I would love to hear your story. As you mentioned, you had end-of-life care experience with your dad and your brother.
Yes.
But tell us the story of what made you really stop and go, maybe I'd like to volunteer there.
Well, the care that those two loved ones received was just inspiring to me. And I kind of wanted to be a piece of that. Because I realize how important it is to take care of the entire family unit when end-of-life care comes up. And it happens for all of us in some form or another. And the team with Ancora was so compassionate and so giving and so concerned about the entire family unit. That's what impressed me. And when I was available to give back some time, that's why I wanted to try that avenue to give back to the community and to share that compassion with a family in need. It's not just the patient, it's the entire family unit that needs support.
Absolutely.
When these times come along.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have a similar story.
I do.
Are you comfortable sharing that?
I am. I am. My sister, she was with hospice for 3 months here at the Gibson House. Ancora, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
And they became family to us because they were just so kind and considerate to all of us. They were amazing with my sister until the day she passed. So that's why I am here. I knew I had to wait a year because I had talked to someone before you can do anything. So I waited a year and I started looking and I found medical records. They needed somebody. I just knew I needed to be here to pay it back. And after seeing what I saw with everybody here, I knew I wanted to be a part of that.
I love hearing that.
And I'd like to share one more thing.
Sure.
Lynn. My brother was here at the Gibson House for 8 days, and we knew his time was drawing to a close.
Sure.
But he had a good day, and then he'd have a not so good day. But on his good days, he would have a room full of people. We brought his dog. It was just the most precious time to share with him, and the folks here allowed all that to happen. So it was just very special to us as a family to be able to spend that sort of time with him near the end of his life.
Yes, it is.
I am so appreciative of both of you all sharing those stories, but especially that part at the end, June, because, I think there is certainly a stigma attached sometimes to anything related to end-of-life care. And here in Gibson House, that people who haven't experienced it, I've had people say to me, well, isn't it sad? Well, no.
It is not sad.
It is not sad.
Not all the time.
Not all the time. Certainly, it is sad. None of us want to lose anybody.
Right.
But when we think about what you mentioned, working with the whole family, our team's responsibility is to really find out what's important to this person and to this family. What is quality of life for this group?
So important.
It absolutely is. And so let's do those things. Let's bring the dog in.
Right.
When it's me, I have a miniature schnauzer that's going to be right there in that hospital bed, if I have any say-so at all about it. But that's important to me. Might not be important to everybody. But when you think about volunteer opportunities, because I know we've had people that have gone to see our patients in the nursing home, for example, that painted their fingernails.
Yes.
Yes.
It's going to be important to me.
We washed a lady's hair. She was in the nursing home.
Yeah.
She had not had her hair washed, and we made it happen.
And think how much better that made her feel.
She
Yeah.
did.
It sounds like a small thing, but it's really
The small
really
things are
not.
the most important
Right.
to them.
I'll never
really.
forget her smile.
Yeah, I'm sure. Reading to people, singing to people. Now, I am not the volunteer. I would never. You would not want me singing to your people. They would ask me to voluntarily stop doing that, I'm sure. But all of that is important for folks
Yes.
that lift their spirits for a little while. But you can see just from the two of you, the families don't forget that.
That is
No.
correct. That is correct.
So to come here to volunteer, I would never want anybody to underestimate the positive and the lasting impact that you can have on that
Exactly.
patient's family.
Yes.
Yeah, that is tremendous. So talk to me a little bit, Kim, about the training for volunteering here.
Well, the first thing I do is I try to get to know them a little bit, see where they're at, what they'd like to do, and then we have 6 modules of the training that they have to do online. Each one takes a little over an hour, and once they get those done, they come in and we sit down and we talk, and they have forms to fill out. They have to have some tests done, background check, stuff like that. And once they get all that complete, then we find them placement for what they want to do. And it's pretty simple to become a volunteer here. We're just very thorough with the training and background checks and stuff, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, back to the Medicare regulations, but so volunteers are just like staff as far as all of the things we have to do pre-employment, if you'll look at it that way. So the orientation and the training, and like you just mentioned, the background checks that have to be done. June, thinking about these 8 years, if somebody was out there thinking, I might want to do that, I'm not sure, what would you say to encourage them?
I would say step out of your comfort zone. It's very rewarding. It gives you a sense of pride in what you're doing to see someone who is struggling, to bring a smile to their face. Talk to me. Give me a call. I'll be happy to talk with anyone who might be interested in the piece of it that I do. Of course, I help out administratively if I can when the need arises. But my primary focus is with the patients and the families. I just enjoy it. We talk about different things. It's surprising what people will talk to you about once you put them at ease and just let them know you're there for a chat. So,
And you know, it's important for all of us to be able to share with somebody what we have contributed in this life.
right.
So I'm sure you hear an awful lot of what I would call life review, just
Oh, I
wonderful
do.
memories, and maybe it's what they did for a living or how they raised their family or all sorts of stuff.
I had a patient who was, of course, near the end of his life, and his family was very hesitant to let someone they didn't know come in
Sure.
and stay with him. But we won them over. I went and sat with him, and he was such an interesting man. He told me about his career in the Navy, and we had a common bond because my son was in the Marine Corps at the time. Then he told me about his woodworking shop, and it was just an interesting afternoon. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. And so you just made me think of something. When we think of taking care of the whole family unit, you know, being a caregiver is the hardest job anybody will ever have.
Right.
And most of the time when someone finds themselves in that position, they haven't had a whole lot of training in becoming a caregiver, right? But life goes on. Some people are in the situation where they must continue working, or you need to go to the store. You have your own appointment, so you can't just completely stop everything. Sometimes you might just need a couple of hours out of the house, right? And to know that a trained volunteer can come in and ease that burden for a little while.
We can do that, absolutely.
Yep. That would be very comforting to me if I were in that situation. So there's a flip side to all of this wonderful volunteer stuff. When I think about just the organization overall, if I think about this as a business, we are the only freestanding, independent, nonprofit hospice here in Rockingham County. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I know we are all most proud of is that in all of these years, 36 years, we have never turned anybody away who needed our services because they didn't have insurance or they didn't have a way to pay. These wonderful volunteers that we have, when you look at it from the business side, save us a tremendous amount of money. And I've got some numbers that you gave me here, Kim.
Yes.
I'm not going to ask you to repeat them by memory. That's
Thank
why
you.
I have them in front of me, because I couldn't do it by memory either. But when you just look at this first quarter, so this is just January 1st through March 31st, where Kim has tracked all of the hours. So there have been 134 administrative volunteer hours, 280 patient care volunteer hours, and then we've got some other special events and things like that. And also you have to think about the mileage that we do not have to pay. But when you put a dollar amount to all of those services from this fabulous core of volunteers, in this one quarter, it saved the agency a little over $15,000.
That's wonderful.
It is awesome. So what that means for us is that's money that the volunteers saved us, so that goes right back into patient care. It's not more expense. So we have more to put towards patient care and supporting. Because as a nonprofit organization, of course, you never know when that next patient's going to come along that does not have a way to pay for our services. Mm-hmm. So we could never thank you seems mighty inadequate for all these wonderful volunteers.
I always tell them what they do does never go unnoticed.
Absolutely.
We always appreciate everything y'all do.
Yeah, and it is just amazing. But I know if we could talk to the families, what that would mean if they know that somebody went to check on their person, or somebody sat with their person and read, or played their favorite music, or whatever the case may be. So, Kim, how would somebody get in touch with you if they wanted to find out more about our volunteer services?
They can call me directly at the office, and that number is 336-427-9022, or email me at kbunker@ancoracc.org.
Yeah, so that's a great way to get in touch with you. I do want to talk about some future plans. I don't have a date, but I am excited about this. This is something that's kind of been on our radar for a few years, actually, if I'm honest, probably 3 at least. But we have plans in the near future for us to have our own resale shop, home store, whatever you choose to call that. But that's going to be another great opportunity for volunteers.
Yes.
So as those plans unfold, we'll certainly be sharing that as we learn more about the days we'll be open, the hours, all of that good stuff. But that's an exciting thing for us. Again, being able to put that money right back into the support of our patient care.
That's going to be great.
Yep. So we've got a fundraiser coming up, and this all started with the volunteers.
Yes.
Jude, I might depend on you to tell me the history of that. It's been a long time. But let's just talk about what's upcoming.
The Life Walk for 2024. We have that every year in the spring. Yeah. And it will be right at a 3-mile walk. You don't have to walk the whole thing. You can stop at any point that you want to. We're going to have a DJ. We're going to have face painting for children or adults, if you like that kind of stuff. We're going to have food, a barbecue plate. We're going to have drinks. And it's just going to be a great time. It's just going to be a really great time. It's going to be at Reedsville Christian Church. And if you need more information, if you haven't registered or you want to register, just give me a call at the office or email me.
Okay. And I believe we're having lunch there too after
Yes.
the walk?
Yes, the food.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to have a barbecue plate.
Yep, that is going to be awesome. So we're looking forward to that. And again, that money raised at LifeWalk goes right back for uninsured, but also underinsured patients. That's something else to unpack a little bit. But all of it, just knowing that all of the money raised at that fundraiser goes back towards patient care.
Yes.
So
And I believe if you register, you get a T-shirt. Is that right?
I believe that is correct.
Yes.
I
And
believe
there
that
are
is correct.
teams, and it's a walk to remember those we've lost within the last year.
Yeah, it's a beautiful time, and
It is a beautiful
we
time
have-
of remembrance.
It really is, but it's a wonderful time to see some people that you haven't seen in a while, and it always amazes me that we have some families that come back a year after.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
yeah.
a good way to
Yep.
support the community and other people.
Yep,
Very good way to do
absolutely.
that.
Good way to give back.
Mhm.
So that seems to be a theme throughout this whole conversation. Is
Yes, giving back.
Giving back. So I would encourage anybody who wants to learn more about our volunteer opportunities here to please get in touch with Kim Bunker. She shared the phone number earlier, but it is 336-427-9022. You can also find our website at www.ancoracc.org. You've got a self-paced volunteer training that to me is a positive thing. You
Yes.
can kind of do it at your own pace and then meet with Kim and see where you would be a good fit. But our volunteers are absolutely invaluable, and I just appreciate your time here today.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.